Greetings and welcome back to Inspired Messages for another segment of Unveil. These definitions, the metaphysical definitions of these words are being brought to you, the listener, so that it can assist you with removing the veil of deception, the veil of confusion that was brought to this world. Before we unveil the two words for today, we're going to unveil two words for today. Let us bring a definition of metaphysics. What is metaphysics? And metaphysics is the branch that studies, the branch of philosophy that studies the first principles of being. It is identity and change, space and time. It includes the questions about the nature of consciousness and the relationship between mind and matter. The word metaphysics comes from a word that means together. It's a Greek word that means together, which literally means after or behind or among the study of the natural. So when you break down the word metaphysical, you have meta, which means after or beyond, and it also is a prefix. When you use it as a prefix, it brings the meaning of comprehension or transcendence. And so this is the word meta. And physics is relating to physics or the operation of natural forces. In looking up the definition of words, I find that, for example, let's just say you look up a definition of a word. There's always a couple definitions listed, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some have 6, but there's always a couple of definitions listed. If you read through the definitions, the true meaning of the word that is consistent with the etymology of the word, because when you look up the etymology of the word, where the word derived from, the etymology and probably the last or before the last definition of the word, they are going to be most likely similar, or they're related, much more related. And it gives you a better idea of what that word truly means, because words their meaning have been changed over and over and over. For example, if you do a Google search and look up the word nice, it has, through the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it has 7 different definitions listed. But when you get to number 4, you begin to see that the meaning of the word nice is really not the way we utilize it, because nice is, when you look at number 4, the definition number 4, it is telling you it's possessing, marked by, or demanding great or excessive precision. And so when you look up the etymology of the word nice, it tells you that nice really means foolish or ignorant, or frivolous. And so we have to begin to be mindful of the words we utilize and look them up. Just take the time and look up the word that you're using, especially if you're having questions about the word. Look up the etymology of the word, and it will give you a better idea of the word that you are utilizing, and of course, sending that particular energy attached to that word out into the universe. So let's dive into the two words that we're going to unveil today. The first word we're going to unveil is sin, and the second word is serpent. So let's dive into the word sin. A Google search of the word sin provides the definition of an offense against religious or moral law, an action that is or is felt to be highly reprehensible. When you continue reading, it says, a transgression of the law of God, a vitiated state of human nature in which the self is estranged from God. So let's hold on here. So now we're going to look up the word God in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Okay, so before we go to the definition of God in the Metaphysical Bible, the definition of God from a Google search says, the perfect and all-powerful spirit or being that is worshipped, especially by Christian, Jews, and Muslim, as the one who created and rules the universe. So now let's look at there's more definitions there, but we're going to stay there because they all overlap. So we're going to look now at what the definition of God is in the dictionary of myths and scriptures, and it says, God is potential and actual, a symbol of the central principle of being, the only reality, and the source of the transitory manifestation of the external universe and of the human soul. The only life which exists entirely in itself, from itself, and by itself is the life of God, or the Absolute, which two words mean one and the same thing. So that when we say the life of the Absolute, we only use a form of expression, since the Absolute is life and life is the Absolute. This divine life lies entirely hidden in itself. It has its residence within itself and abides there, completely realized in and accessible only to itself. And listen to this. God is love, internal. There is no external God. Utilizing the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it says, sin is evidently very material, combative, destructive states of thought, muddy thoughts, marshy thoughts, okay? Missing the mark, falling short of the divine law. The divine law is the law of God, the law of being. It is the underlying principle of every man's being and of the universe. Sin is a departure from the law of our being. The command of God to man is, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. The creatures of land and sea represent states of mind, and they are all contained in the consciousness of every man. Any failure on our part to exercise this dominion is falling short or a sin. So there we have it. The word sin is not that you whatever you're doing, that you're going to hell and all this commotion. In other words, to make it simple, know thyself. So when you don't know yourself, when you're not seeking to know thyself, then you are sinning, because the ultimate law is to know the law of your being, for you to know who you are, know thyself. Now let us look at the definition for the word serpent. As I said, I don't want to give too much information. You can go ahead and do your own research. You don't have to take my word. Do your own research. Take the time to do it. And and see what you find, and maybe leave your comments below or questions. Also, if there's a word that you guys would want me to define or to look up as well, put a comment in the comment section below, and I will definitely define that word. So the definition, a Google search of the word serpent gives us a noxious creature that creeps, hisses, or stings. A snake, the devil, a treacherous person. This is the definition that the Merriam-Webster dictionary provides. So now we're going to go to our metaphysical / dictionary of scriptures and myth, and it says serpent, a symbol of the inner forces of the relative existence which appear and again disappear, by which the growth of the soul is accomplished. These forces are dual and of the higher and lower nature. They act reciprocally, although in opposition. The higher serpent is Atma, the lower serpent is Kama. So you can have a sense of that, the Kama, which is also karma. So you're functioning from a low vibration, the Kama, and the Atma, of course, is what they refer to as the Buddhic, which is your higher consciousness. So that's the higher serpent. The first is of the wisdom nature, and the second is of the desired nature, and each is active through the mind. It then goes on to say, in quotation marks, with a reference, it says, heaven was not earth. Well, heaven was not, earth was not. The good and evil serpents did not exist. Homage be to the serpents, which ever are on earth, and that they are in the air, and that they are in the sky. To those serpents be homage. Whatever serpents there are in these three worlds, to them the sacrificer thereby does homage. I hope the next time you open the Bible, which is the Bible, and you see the word sin, or you hear someone say the word sin, you can look at it or think of that word from a different perspective, or have a different perspective about the word. Because if you continuously walk around thinking that you are a sinner, that you've done so much wrong, and even to the point where they say every time a child is born into this earth, that child is born into sin. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the burden from being a child, that you have this ingrained in your head, that you were born into being the naughty kid, the naughty person, because you were born, but yet you're born into this beautiful earth from a beautiful and harmonious womb, because if you're alive, your mother's womb had to be able to produce. So that's why you're here. So if you're here and you're hearing this message, that means that you were not born into sin. You were born into abundance. You were born into love. You were born into harmony. You were born into health. You were born into prosperity. That is who you are. The kingdom of God is within you. Thank you for listening. I am Goddess Nini. Please leave your questions and or comments below. And until next time, one love.